right, here we go. I hope you're ready, because I'm not. I don't even know what to expect from this episode, but welcome, everybody, to episode 7, the bonus edition of the Nothing to Prove podcast. I am your host, Dom Vitale, and today I am joined by my other half, so to speak, my heterosexual life mate himself, Mr. Gabriel Gallo, the king of no rules, the devil himself, whatever you want to call him. Gallo is going to be my co-host for this episode. And Gallo, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Wow, with an intro like that, I don't really know where to go, but...
Well, you're going to go where I tell you to go because you're the bottom. Just don't ever forget that.
You know, I actually am a nice guy, despite you telling everybody I'm the devil and, you know, I'm like such a bad person in real life.
I never said bad person. I just said you don't have any people skills. There's a difference there. But so Gallo, I'm sure you listened to the show before, and I'm not going to sit here and interview you because number one, I've heard your stories a million times and they bore me at this point. Number two, there, like I said in my first episode, there's way better people out there to interview individuals such as yourself. So if you don't mind, just to give the listener an idea, I assume most people that are listening right now know who you are, know something about you. But for anybody that's joining us right now that's not familiar with you, just give them a rundown a little bit about like who you are, where you come from, your whole deal.
Well, I'm a prick, which if they know me, they know that's the case. I'm probably the biggest asshole in the world.
And you're backmouthing you? You just buried yourself.
But I'm a nice asshole. But people call me an asshole. I call myself passionate, especially when it comes to the world of professional wrestling, which is how I got to meet you.
Yeah, sorry about that, by the way.
Yeah, I've been regretting it for the last 6 years. But
well, how long have you been in the business for? Let's start there, and you can go from there.
I've been wrestling for going on 15 years now. It'll be 16 this October. Starting my 16th year this October coming up. Pretty much I've wrestled everywhere. I've wrestled coast to coast, Japan, Europe, Mexico. Getting ready to do Canada here soon with you, and I don't know what else we want to go with that. Like, I don't want to try to put myself over too much because God knows I will probably do that quite enough later on as we keep going on this thing.
No, that's fine. That's why I started this, to put myself over. That's the whole idea of the podcast in the first place, because if no one else is going to do it, I might as well do it for myself. But, all right, so obviously you know a thing or two about professional wrestling. You've been doing it, like you said, for 15-plus years, and you've done it. Like, I find it really hard to believe. You mean you've wrestled outside of, like, the immediate 40-mile radius?
Yes, the actual Phoenix metropolitan area. I have traversed outside of there. I've even gone farther than El Paso and Albuquerque. Despite what some people in this 40-mile area tend to say, I have gone elsewhere.
Oh, it's interesting. There's like 60, 70, something like that. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so let's put it this way. The show, I usually talk about a variety of different topics. So like current events is a big one. We'll see where the show goes. One of them is sports, which I will not be talking with you about.
Don't talk to me about sports because, as you know, I know nothing about sports other than that in baseball you hit a ball and. Well, pretty much most sports, you either hit a ball or you chase a ball. That's all I really know about sports.
Okay, so we're going to definitely stay away from there. I don't want you to bury yourself even more than you probably will. So we won't get in that far. As far as politics goes, I will definitely not get into a political debate with you. Number one being, and I'll be the first to admit, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to politics. And
I can tell every time you open your mouth about it, you know nothing about politics.
Especially on this show, I just want to let you know that we follow the lead of the Michael Rappaport I Am Rappaport podcast in that we don't fact check.
Yeah, I called you on some of that stuff. Actually, I think every podcast you have, I wind up texting you or calling you and saying, you know, you are completely full of shit on that last one, and maybe you should check. There's this little thing called Google. I know you have it on your phone.
Yeah, sometimes I just get fired up and I don't feel like checking to make sure what I'm saying is completely accurate. But I'm emotional, and sometimes my emotions get the best of me, which I'm sure you've seen quite a bit over the past 6 or 7 years or so. So we'll try to steer away from there. I've gotten somewhat into these type of, I don't even want to call them debates because they're not really debates, but I've learned a long time ago that if you're going to argue any point with Gabriel Gallo, he doesn't like to take like your side at all. He basically says, no, you're fucking wrong. So that gets old after a while. So I'm not the political stuff. I'm not touching it. I'm not going to touch it.
I could go into things with an open mind. It's just the fact that you're so close-minded all the time.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Now you're now you're crossing the line. Okay, but I think it's safe to say that the focus of this podcast, being like a special broadcast with our first co-host, episode 7, and being yourself and what your history and what your expertise is, obviously professional wrestling. I'm more going to lean towards the focus of this episode being on professional wrestling in and of itself. I think there's a lot of people out there. Actually, I know for a fact that there's a lot of people out there that want to hear your 2 cents about the business, some things that are going on in the business today, and just your overall philosophy of wrestling in and of itself. And I wanted to start here, actually. I'm sure you're aware, if you listen to the show, we have an ongoing one-sided debate, I guess you would say, whereas I love John Cena. And a lot of people shit on John Cena. Now, from my perspective, and I've given my examples and I've backed my statements with cold, hard facts, I think it's absolute bullshit. I think John Cena is the best there is right now. He is number 1. Now, from someone like yourself who has years and years of experience in the professional wrestling business, who's been all over the place, who's wrestled, I don't know, thousands of matches probably, what is your take on John Cena? What do you think of him overall?
Honestly, I think John Cena's the fucking man. Like, everybody that complains and says, oh, Cena can't wrestle, this and that, let's be honest. You've said it before. He doesn't have to. He has earned his stripes. He has earned his spot. What he lacks in athletic ability, he makes up for in just his charisma, his look, his psychology. He's great. And I've known Cena since I started. My second match, I think, or first match and second match, Cena was wrestling with Mike Knox against Gator Wolf and my trainer in Winslow, Arizona, in front of like 75 kids on a reservation at a high school. And he rocked it then just as much as he rocks it now.
Now, for like, there's people that especially on the indies, that will fucking cut the guy down left and right. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think it's just from a lack of them knowing any type of psychology that goes into wrestling, or just having no clue?
I think it's jealousy. Do you mean the wrestlers or fans?
No, well, let's do both, the wrestlers and the fans. Where do you think it comes from the wrestlers and then from the fans?
From the wrestlers, I'd say from jealousy, because the simple fact that he has a spot that most of them know they will never, ever attain. And besides the fact that he looks like $1 million, so they're probably sitting there. This also goes with the fans, too. The guys hate him because no matter what their girlfriend says, their girlfriend's sitting there drooling at their mouth looking at him, because let's be honest, John Cena's jacked and looks like $1 million. So
it's kind of like the reverse of your ring rats philosophy, which we may get into later.
Ring rats philosophy. It's not even the reverse. It's the exact same thing. No, you're right. It is the reverse of my ring rats philosophy. As in, they still come, but they come just to boo him.
Exactly. Okay. So bottom line is, I guess as far as the John Cena thing, it would be safe to say that you agree with my points pretty much up until this point?
No, yeah, I've actually agreed with you every time you go off on your subject about John Cena. I agree with you on everything. He has earned that spot, and the way that he can actually he doesn't care if you boo him or cheer him. He makes them do both equally as loud, so he doesn't care.
Okay, so what's your take on, let's say, like a guy, like an indie darling that's not the John Cena, like pretty much the opposite, which I guess in this case, it would be a guy like Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens now, who's now on the WWE main roster. A lot of people, especially on the fan side of things, will fucking completely bury a guy like Cena, but put over a guy like Kevin Owens, and not taking anything away from Owens or Cena for that matter. But do you think that's justified, or how do you see that?
Well, we'll think of the average fan. Because let's be honest, Kevin Owens was probably the most popular wrestler on the indies in the United States and Canada. So he had a pretty good fan base going in to WWE. I mean, so people were already next to CM Punk. He was probably the most anticipated debut on the roster. So I think. I don't know. It takes two people to be in there. And if one guy goes in there and wrestles a sack of shit, he might make that sack of shit look decent, but it's not going to have the same as two guys that know what they're doing. And those two guys obviously know what they're doing. I think people that try to say that he's the one carrying the whole match is naive. They're blinding themselves in the fact that they want to boo John Cena so bad that they're blinding themselves to the fact that both of them are out there working and busting their asses and killing themselves and kicking out of every finish in the book just to make them pop.
Do you hate that as much as I do?
I fucking hate that.
Okay, good, because I thought I was just being a condescending prick for a while.
But I know like wrestling evolves and wrestling changes, and that right now they're doing what I'm going to say. I don't care what anybody says. You'll still be able to sell a finish. You'll still be able to make a DDT and work the neck and everything and make people believe it. But also they're targeting that, I think, that ROH type crowd right now. So they're trying to appease them, and they're doing a good job at it because you got two of the best and they're doing it.
But back to the whole kicking out of the finish thing, like there's an art form to that, I think. Like, I'm not saying never kick out of a finish, but when you're kicking out of a guy's finish on a weekly basis on TV, is it even a finish anymore?
It means nothing. It makes all moves mean nothing. If you're kicking out of everything in the world, what's the next? What is in store for you in the future? Are they going to pull a shotgun out from underneath the ring and shoot you with a beanbag gun to get you to go down? Like, I don't know. It makes the moves irrelevant, and I don't know. I find it kind of funny that finishes are getting kicked out of, and everybody expects you to kick out of a finish. Yet the actual art of wrestling seems to be coming back, and people seem to be popping and getting and enjoying actual wrestling matches that end with actual holds. Standing ovations every time I see two people doing it. But if you don't kick out of 50 million finishers, if you're doing a regular wrestling match, then you're a pussy. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think more about the whole kicking out of the finish thing the other day, and to me it just seems like a scapegoat. Like, it's an automatic reaction from a crowd, but there are so many other ways that you can get that same reaction without just burying your finish. And like I said, don't fucking call it a finish anymore. You're not finishing anybody with it, or if you are, it's taking what, fucking 2, 3, 4 times to do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me put it this way: if I can't see an instance where if you're having a match with someone, Gallo, or you're trying to figure out how you're going to put a match together where you're. And I don't want to expose too much of the business, but I don't see anyone kicking out of your finish. Let's put it that way.
You have to have psychology. And if you're just having people go out there and they're just kicking out everything, like you said, the moves mean nothing. You're exposing more in that than people that actually just go out, say on a podcast like we are right now, talk about it. Because
there's no one listening. Don't worry.
I know I want to. This goes against my principles right now, but.
And like I said, you don't have to expose too much because I try my best not to. But I mean, obviously the curtain's pulled back to some degree. I'm just trying not to fucking rip the curtain down.
Let's be honest. If I'm going to wrestle somebody, and hypothetically say I powerbomb them out of their shoes, usually, and let's be honest, I'm as much of a arrogant prick in the ring as I am outside the ring. So I mean that goes without saying. So I'll at least be cocky enough about it to walk around for 2 or 3 minutes before I go and try to pin them, because I I mean, let's come on. If they're gonna, you know what I mean? Like,
it just makes sense at that point.
It makes sense. The people need to look at the psychology of how they do things, and realize that if they're just kicking out on one, if you're hitting them with a move and they're kicking out, you're a pussy. You are a pussy because you just hit the biggest move. You've hit the top rope power bomb, and they obviously can kick out on one. So either A, they're the biggest badass in the world, or B, you have zero credibility and are worse than a jobber because you can't pin somebody on a move that Big Daddy Cool Diesel did from the middle of the ring, and you just did it off the top rope.
And we've seen that quite a bit, I think, over the years. So,
well, and everybody, I know everybody looks at like the Shawn Michaels kick out at 2.5 at the huge, right when they think he's gonna get pinned, and or the Undertaker kicking out and sitting up, but they got to realize that. Usually when they did that, first of all, Undertaker kicked out everything. That was because that was his character. He was a dead guy.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker weren't fucking kicking out of each other's finishers fucking for 7-8 weeks leading up to those matches.
No, exactly. No, exactly. That's true. And so it meant something when they did it. And also, like, at the same time, like, Shawn Michaels would not just kick out. He would get hit so hard with something he would roll out of the ring, or he'd be underneath the rope and the pin didn't count. And finally, when they got that pinfall and he kicked out at 2.5, it was the biggest thing in the friggin' world. And oh, by the way, they knew how to sell.
Well, that's another story for another day.
That's a huge thing to put the moves over. Is you could kick out of the move, but you need to learn how to sell. You need to sell that move before, during, and after the kick out.
And the key word I think you put there was learn, and that's what's missing.
What's that? Nobody wants to learn now. Now you can go to you train for 3 weeks. You learn how to bump, and you buy yourself some shoes off High Spots, and you're a professional wrestler. What? You don't want to book me? I'll go buy my own ring and promote my own show. Fuck you, promoters.
Okay, so here's this is a perfect segue into what I wanted to get into here. Now I mentioned I referred to you when we started here as the devil, and you're an asshole and stuff like that. Now you've obtained a bit of a reputation, and rightfully so. But to me, I feel it's in a good way, especially in this area where you're. And this isn't my words. This is other people's words. You're too mean, especially, especially to new guys. But from my experience, you're even mean to guys that have been around a long time. But you're, especially from the new guys, they feel like you're, quote, like I said, too mean or too hard on new guys. What is your stance on that?
Quit being a bitch. No. I mean, I say that, but at the same time, like, I mean that, actually. I can't even say anything around that. No, let's be honest. Okay, this is a hard sport. No matter how you look at it, this is a hard sport with a lot of people striving, hopefully, to achieve a level that a lot of us will never get. Hell, I've never gotten to the upper echelon either, and I probably never will, but at least I know what it takes to get there. And part of that means being dedicated and being able to eat shit and smile and keep going. Like, if you can't take criticism, if you can't take someone, who cares? Who cares what good you did in that match? Oh, that was great. That was awesome. We'll talk about that for 10 seconds. After that, I'm going to tell you everything that was bad in that match. Because if you can't take that, if you can't take somebody telling you how to make your match better and being brutally, bluntly honest to you, you're never going to make it anywhere else. You're not going to make it in ROH or Japan or in the upper leagues or WWE, you know what I mean? Where they're going to be like, that was the drizzling shits. We're firing you for that now. You're not seeming to learn. You need to be able to be an empty cup and take what somebody tells you and not get pissed off and go write about it on the internet or go whine and cry and bitch and moan to all your fans out in the bar that are waiting to buy you drinks and everything. No, you need to fucking be a man or a woman and fucking stand up for that and be like, okay, and take that criticism and use it as constructive criticism, no matter how. And you know what? If it pisses you off, good. I hope it pisses you off. Take that little fire it lights inside your gut and go and make yourself better next time. Make that match better. Make whatever you did wrong. Don't do it again and make it better. Shove it in my face or whoever's telling you that, see, I fucked up last time, but look at what I just did. Did you hear that, crowd? I did that right. Tell me what I did wrong now. And
it seems, and I completely agree. I think that a lot of the new guys are handled with kid gloves, but I think that's from a lack of proper training, and they anticipate or they expect too much too soon and don't eat enough shit early on to really appreciate what they get later on to a certain degree. And like you're saying, where you were saying, you hear the bad, hear the parts that you're fucking up on. Some people look at that as you being a bully, and I relate it to the whole Bill DeMott situation that happened a couple months back, where he was let go from the head trainer spot for NXT because a couple people came out and said that he was abusive and he was bullying and things like that. Now I don't see how he's a bully. And me and you have both met Bill numerous times and have been in the ring with him and things like that. From my standpoint in interacting with him, he wasn't easy on you, but that was his way to make sure that you, one, didn't get a big head, and two, worked your ass off to get better. And I think there's a lot of and especially the people that came out, can't take the no for an answer, or they hear no and they say, okay, well that's it. I'm done. Who am I going to make an excuse out of, I guess, or make an example of, because I couldn't fucking cut the mustard. What's your take on the whole Bill DeMott situation?
We can be here all day with that one. Yeah, Bill is hard, but there's a lot of guys that are harder than Bill. You know what I mean? And yeah, he was being honest and truthful. Like some of the things that I read, some of the interview that somebody that started this whole thing said that he told him that, if you're hurt all the time, they're going to let you go from the roster. Well, guess what? That's not a fucking lie. That's the truth.
Right. Why do you want damaged goods or someone that's susceptible for injury? I think that's a valid fucking point.
Yeah, and now you're right. Today is a different age of wrestling. In WWE especially, it's a different age in wrestling. They have doctors now on every show that are going to treat you. You're going to get checked out, concussion checkouts and everything else. But the day-to-day rigors of the job are still the same. You're still out there, especially if you're on the main roster of WWE. You're still on the road 4 days out of the week, 5 days, however many days you are. You're wrestling at least half those days, if not more. You're spending the days in a car traveling. You're sleeping in a hotel on a bed that's not yours. You're away from your family. You're away from everything at your house. You're away from your bills. Your stress, your home life stress is still going on, but you got to deal with this on the road. And by the same time, you just busted your shoulder last night, and they have it taped up with Kinsio tape, and you still got to go out there and wrestle. And I mean, there's still these stresses with the job that. The physicality part, yeah, you got to be a man and be tough enough to take it. But part of the reason why we're so tough on you, and part of the reason I know why Bill was so tough on people, is because if you can't handle the pressure of him ripping your ass for doing something wrong, how are you going to handle your wife calling you up and screaming at you while you're on the road that you haven't been home in 4 days and the kids are sick and you're going home for 2 days to fight with her just so you can get back on the road again and do what you love just to pay the bills? Because let me tell you, that fight's going to be a lot worse if you do get fired or quit from that job and then you go home, because now you ain't making no money. All right, like there's a lot of stress, and I know a lot of people that complain about it, like the indie wrestlers that wrestle 1 weekend a month or even one weekend or one day out of each weekend in their own 40-mile area, or maybe even as far as a couple 100 miles. It's a big difference when you're flying all over the country or all over the world. You're in New York today, you're in Cincinnati tomorrow, you're in LA the day after that, and then guess what? You got to go back to Philadelphia so you can do a show that night and then fly out to Germany to start the European tour you're going to be on for 3 weeks. There's a lot of pressures in that, and in that time, you got to be able to do a lot of stuff. People just need to quit bitching. This is a hard business. This is a hard sport, and it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, mentally and physically. So if you can't take that in training, you're never going to make it later on.
I think that's why, and from my perspective, and we've had the opportunity to take a couple of the younger guys on the road with us, like. Early on, and they're the ones that show like they actually have some kind of potential, and you're really rough on them, like, like it's brutal, and but it works because you kind of trim the fat that way. You know who's going to be able to stick around. And I think that you and I kind of have a good track record as far as like seeing or picking someone ahead of time that we know is not going to crack, but that they need to be tested to some degree anyways, to make sure they can take it. And because like if they can't take fucking being on the road with two fucking dumb shits like you and me for a fucking weekend, like you said, how are they going to fucking survive on the road 4 to 5 days a week, performing in front of fucking tens of thousands of people, if they're lucky, on a daily basis? You have to start small. You have to start somewhere. But I think it's people think they can just kind of fucking jump in the deep end right away and they're going to acclimate, which is not the case.
Exactly. Like, nobody gets it. Like, okay, and even people probably now are going, 3 to 4 days a week, that's not that much. So let's up the ante and tell you what that really equals out to. We're talking about 260 to 300 days a year on the road, which means there's only 365 days in the year, which means you're home 65 days. At the most 100. That's a lot of time gone.
Right, and this is for the guys that I assume that everyone that's in the wrestling business strives to be the top guy, or the top 5 guys, you know? Right. And if you're a top 5 guy, sorry, fucking reality check, you're on the road to 290, 300 days a year.
Maybe more. You know, that's what it is. And let's be honest, you can't make tempered steel until you throw it into a furnace and turn it white hot and then beat the hell out of it with a hammer. That's how a strong piece of metal is made, and that's how the human body is. So it doesn't matter if you're going to be a soldier. It doesn't matter if you're going to be an Olympic athlete. It doesn't matter if you're going to be a professional wrestler. It's the same in all things like that. If it's going to be that hard, they need to break your will and break you down and see until everything around you is mush except for that little spark in you that says, I'm going to keep getting up and keep going. And that's what it needs to be, turned from a little spark into a bonfire. And once you get that going, now there's nothing to stop you. You're a locomotive at that point, and nothing can stop you because you no matter what, you have that fire. I mean, maybe I look at it a lot harder because when I first started, now granted, me and my trainer, we don't get along anymore. Well, we're peaceable now, but there was a time when we hated each other and don't get along. But I gotta say, I was very lucky to have met him and to have done what I did, because the minute I started wrestling, after my very first match, I had maybe 6 matches. I was wrestling once a month, and then after that, I became his tag partner, and we were on the road literally 250 days a year, probably 200 to 250 days a year. We were gone 3 to 4 days every week on the road wrestling. If we were home one weekend, my wife at that time was ecstatic because we were always gone, and I loved it. You know, it was great. It was when I started wrestling was on fire. It was the Attitude Era. You know, you could throw a wrestling ring up in the middle of a friggin' dirt field and 1,000 people would show up. You know. But that was hard, and I mean, honestly, if you think about it, 3 years into that, I had to deal with all that a year into that, I had to deal with all the same problems at home. But you know, in the first 3 years, I went from married, having a house, you know, 2 cars, you know, 3 dogs, everything else, the whole little picket fence thing, to where all of a sudden I was living out of my truck, you know, divorced, struggling to make a living off of my wrestling money alone, which seemed all right at the time, but let's be honest, when you lose everything you're trying to eat and pay for your apartment, it gets real hard, you know. And at that same time was when the bottom of the business started to fall out, because, you know, obviously that was a year after 9/11, and it started to get a lot harder to get flown out places. People had less expendable money, which means the shows were drawing less and less, and I dealt with all that, and all I had at the end of the day was wrestling. And so I ate the fucking, as I heard you say the last show, the ham on hand sandwich. I did that with a smile, because then I'd go out and I'd bust my ass in that ring. I'd tape my fucking knee up if it was hurt. I'd tape my wrist up. Whatever was hurt and broken, I'd tape it up. I'd go out. I'd make my money so I can go home and I could pay my rent. And I'd sell my merchandise so I could buy that McDonald's on the way home. I'm splurging. You know, I'd make the towns. You know, I'd bring my receipts in so I can get my gas paid for. I'd bust my ass doing whatever I could, and it pisses me off when everybody just wants it handed to them now.
So what And I mean, it could be a variety of different things, and I think it is a variety of different things. I don't think it's just one thing, but what do you think? What's the biggest problem what's the biggest issue, I guess, with the young guys that are coming up today, and what's the biggest issue that's really hindering us? I mean, business is good for a lot of people out there as far as indies go, but what's hurting some of those on the cusp indies from like really taking off?
I think there's a couple things, but it all relates. They all link together like a chain. You know, I think first of all, when I got in, I'm sure when you got in, wrestling was, and before that, wrestling was more of an exclusive club. You had to really bust your ass in training, or to even find somebody. I remember it took me 4 years to find someone to train me because there was nobody out here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, to me, to this day, I don't think everyone deserves a chance to be a professional wrestler. Am I wrong for saying that?
No, I mean, sure, you might have the heart to do it and everything, but just because you can do it or you have the heart to do it doesn't mean you should do it. There's other jobs in wrestling you can do. Refereeing. Wow.
Right.
Don't do that anymore.
Right. But I feel like, though, you know how we talked about you have to pay dues, especially when you first start. You have to eat a lot of shit. I feel like you should eat a certain amount of shit before you even fucking allowed in a wrestling school, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I agree. You know, everybody thinks showing up just to set up the ring is paying dues. That ain't anywhere near close to paying dues. That's like one small aspect, you know, and you should be doing that like you said. That's how you should be trying to get your foot in the door. Yeah, you're going to be doing it through training and while you're wrestling too, but that's how you get your foot in the door is you show up and you say, hey, can I help you tear down the ring? And you try to talk to people.
Right, and guys, I mean, people on the outside of the business, they might not necessarily know that, but the guys inside the business have to, and like I said, again, I said it before, the curtain's been pulled back, everyone the business has been exposed a little bit, but I still feel like it's the guys that are in right now, it's still our responsibility to protect it as much as we can from being bastardized even more, so to speak.
Well, see, and that's part of the problem too, is you got too many of the guys. Well, I'll get to that point. I'll say there's too many guys out there willing to talk to people and willing to try to befriend the fans to make themselves get over, or just talk to somebody too much and giving them the secrets of what they need to do instead of like making them earn it. You know, that's a whole other story though. But I mean, it still links in. Like you said, you have people that don't deserve to be in the business. Every 50-pound fucking scraggly looking kid that looks like he should be mowing your lawn or selling you fucking your burrito at Taco Bell seems to think they can get into wrestling, and it doesn't matter if you tell them no, because they'll go to high spots and buy their gear, like I said, and go buy a ring and fucking book their own shows. So you got that. Then you have these guys that are trained partially, whatever, that promoters actually book. First of all, if you're a promoter and you're booking someone, I'm not saying not booking a green guy, because green guys are bound to suck. But if you're actually booking someone on a continuous basis and you can tell, if you can't tell, you don't deserve to be promoting, first of all. But you can tell, everybody else can tell, that they're a fucking yard tard. And you're booking 4 of them over one good guy because they'll work for free or $10. You are not helping the business any. You're not helping your pocketbook any, and you're not helping mine or anybody else's in the business out. And you're hurting everybody else trying to promote a show because you're promoting shit.
I think that kind of goes back to the whole, oh, well, he's a nice guy thing too. Like people, that's a big excuse for booking people.
Hey, there's a lot of nice guys in professional wrestling. You know what? I know a ton of nice guys. Doesn't mean that I would ever book them on my show.
There's a lot of assholes in wrestling, too. I'm sitting right next to one. But at least we know that you can wrestle, though.
See, the business needs assholes, though, because we're the ones that protect it. Because we're the ones that have to go out there and fucking wrestle you dumb sons of bitches half the time that we're sitting there going 2 seconds in this match. This guy's going to either kill himself or he's going to fucking hurt me. And I'll be damned if he hurts me. So then you gain another reputation as fucking being a dick because you whoop somebody's ass when they're obviously not supposed to be in the ring.
And I kind of look at it as like the repeat customer type thing. If I'm a casual fan, and I think I talked about this like on my first episode, but if I see someone on a wrestling show or a handful of guys on a wrestling show that fucking obviously suck, and not from a green standpoint, just from a standpoint where if I'm a fucking dumpy motherfucker that's sitting in the front row and I'm like, yo, I could probably be doing a fucking better job than these guys, or I look better than these guys. Like, there's no incentive for me to fucking put down my $5, $10, $15, $20 again the next time to come back.
Absolutely not. Why would you spend your money on that to see guys that suck? No offense. Well, I know a lot of guys that suck. You know what I mean? And some promoters know how to book them correctly. Usually they're called jobbers. I mean, that's a weird thing. They don't really make them anymore, but nobody wants to have a job match.
I would fucking kill to be a jobber.
Like 1980s AWA fucking WWF jobber. Oh man, go out there, have like a 5-minute match, 10-minute match, put the guy over, make him look huge, and go home. If you get the 1-minute match, you make the same payday, and you just get your ass kicked and go home. Yeah, Rusty Brooks all the way, baby.
Like, I have no problem. Even on the indies, man, I wouldn't have a fucking problem as long as I was getting paid my rate. If they said, hey, go out there, you're getting squashed in fucking 30 seconds, you would not hear fucking boo from me because I'm going to fucking, one, I'm going to make the same amount of money, and two, guess who's not going to fucking be bumping that much because I'm smart enough to the point where I don't fucking need to throw myself around too much, even if it's for a bigger guy. I can make him look good to some degree to not fuck myself up and spare myself punches on my bump card.
Well, yeah, I was taught, when I first was taught, was one of the things I was first taught too, was some of the best workers in this business were jobbers because they were the ones that had to make the guys usually. Because let's be honest, not every big jacked fucking guy in the ring that they were making money off of was any good, but they looked apart and they were safe enough that they made money off of them. And the jobbers would go out there and make these guys look good. You know what I mean? Come on, let's be honest. It took a hell of a good worker to make Lex Luger look good. I mean, let's be honest about that, okay? There was guys like Rusty Brooks and Barry Horowitz and, you know, guys like that you saw them on the indies and they were huge stars. In the Fed or in WCW, NWA TV matches, yeah, they maybe have a decent run, but they were pretty much there to put the guys over. And it's because they could work.
And they probably got just as much notoriety, too. Like, if that's, like, someone's big thing, like, oh, I want to fucking be popular and be seen. Like, you're going to get more work than most guys probably on TV and be more recognizable, I would think.
And let's be honest, too. You're the first one done. You can go back out and sell your gimmicks and then, you know, get the rats first. So, I mean.
There's no more rats anymore.
There's no more. That's another thing that's wrong with the business. That's another reason.
That's like I said, that philosophy we may need to save for another day and another time.
But no, seriously, like look about that. Like there's some serious things wrong with the business right now. Like on top of that, there's nobody everybody wants to be a star and be a wrestler, and half of them suck. So promoters still book them. Promoters need to quit booking shit. I mean, I'm serious. You're taking money. You're hurting your own product, and you're hurting other people's product. Because like you said, why is anybody going to want to come put their money down if they see that? And I've heard this said a million times. When you go to an indie show, if you see shit, you're never going to go. Those guys are never going to go see another indie show because it's not what they see on TV, even comparable, whether it's in the bodies or in the work ethic. And like I said, why would you not? And I think I actually heard you say this on one of your first or second show. If you don't have the money to promote a card, don't promote a card. Save up, work out your rate with the guys that are going to come into work that can work. Pay their travel, pay for that, pay for advertising. Don't just put it on Facebook, because Facebook is, I'm telling you, if you think you're just going to draw off 1,000 fans off Facebook advertising, you're a fucking retard.
But dude, I got like 5,000 fans on Facebook.
Dude, I fucking, no offense to anybody out there. I don't mean like I don't mean retard by like, mentally challenged. I just mean you're mentally challenged if you really think they're going to be fucking people showing up to see 1,000 people off of just Facebook alone. You got to go out there and you got to bust your ass as a promoter.
And you're absolutely right, because there's a lot of promoters out there, good promoters, that are beating the pavement. Like, they are out there on the street on a weekly basis, flyering everywhere, getting the word out, not just by hanging up flyers, but talking to people. And I think that's a lost art as well. Like, people rely, number one, too much on the Facebook for promoting shows, but also too much on the Facebook thing for like self-promotion too. It seems like that's kind of a scapegoat for people to get lazy.
Yeah, I mean, promoting is promoting. You got to promote on everything. So there's Facebook and there's Twitter. So yeah, you got to promote on that too. But don't rely on that, especially if you're a promoter. If you're a promoter, you should have, oh wow, guys wanting to get on the show, local guys. that might not be so good, but they put in the hard work, and that's where the nice guys get their jobbing for people. Is you're like, this kid's not that great, but he busted his ass to get people in the store, so I think I'm going to give him a ref spot. Or hell, I know guys, there's some guys like, that we've taken on the road that are trying to learn, and they're starting so far at the bottom, they don't even care because they're happy to be part of the show. They're selling merchandise. They're out there selling tickets. They're out there trying to do security on the show, just anything so they can get the 10, 20 minutes in the ring before the show starts to try to learn something so they can eventually get that spot, reffing or bumping in the ring. Nothing is earned anymore, like you were saying before. And then, like I said, all these people, all these promoters that are doing this, booking these crap talents, you're getting a show that has shit instead of spending the money to bring in good talent. And then you're hurting the business because now you got good talent that can't get work. So they wind up leaving the just like any job place, they leave the market because they got to go get a real job working at Target or at Walmart because they can't get the bookings on the roads that they should because you got too many fucking yard tards working for you.
And it all comes back to what the fans want to see, and which brings me to the point I wanted to bring, or a question that I actually wanted to bring up. And this question I received a little while back from a fan from the Bay Area. His name's Marty. We've talked to him a few times at the premiere shows.
Oh, okay.
Awesome guy, and he inquired, and he always has really good questions that he sends my way, and I'm trying to piece them together as far as when they should be answered. And I think this is a good time. I actually had this one. He sent this one early on, and I wanted to save this for the chance to get you on to get your take on it. He wanted to know, as from the standpoint of the boys, what's the difference between a good wrestling fan and a bad wrestling fan?
I could tell you what a bad wrestling fan is.
Okay, let's start with it.
Off the bat. A bad wrestling fan is the ones that they try to be like, first of all, the ECW fans. They saw him on TV through all those years, so they want to be that guy in the hat or the guy with the sign sitting in the front row that makes all the chants, and they try to drown out the rest of the crowd. Like, I think you remember when we used to be at the sets, there was that front row group of guys, and they would literally, if all the rest of the fans paid their money to come in, and they would sit there and the fans would be cheering for who they'd wanted, and it wasn't who they wanted, so they would drown out those fans and actually make it to where the good money-paying fans didn't want to come back because of these guys. And on top of that, then you got the fans like the shitty fans that think that, hey, I've been a wrestling fan for 10 years, 15 years watching on TV, so that means A, I should get into the show for free. B, you should talk to me and and become my friend so I don't bury you on Facebook.
And they're experts, obviously.
Oh, and hey, you got shirts? Cool. Yeah, I'll take a shirt and an autographed picture, but I don't want to fucking pay for it. You should just give it to me and I'll put you over on Facebook because, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I've been watching WWE for 15 years. You know what? In fact, I'm a bigger star than you because I make the chants in the fucking crowd, so you should just cater to me. I'm the star here. I got in for free, by the way, because I told them the same story at the front door, and they bought it.
In defense of the ECW hat guy.
I'm bearing the ECW hat guy. I'm not bearing those guys. Those guys were good fans. I'm just saying, people saw those fans and didn't know what those fans were and trying to emulate them, but they're emulating the wrong stuff.
Exactly, because I was a fucking diehard ECW fan when that shit was going on, and those guys, they would start chants, and they had. I don't even think it started as a gimmick, like the hat thing. I think that's just the fucking way the guy dressed, and that's how he was recognized by the other guys. But if you watch any old fucking ECW tape with those guys in the crowd, they are completely emotionally invested in the show, in the wrestlers, and in the matches. Not to a point where they're trying to fucking get their guy over that they're cheering for. Look at their facial expressions. They're fucking so fired up at the heels, and they're so behind the baby faces. That's a great fan. They're not trying to go into business for themselves, I guess.
No, yeah, they're good fans. They're there to be entertained. That's probably the best thing to say is the good fans are the ones that are there to be entertained, to enjoy the wrestling. And even when the ECW fans would chant, "You fucked up," because a guy messed up, usually it wasn't done out of spite normally.
Which now it is.
Now it is. Now it's like the fans aren't there to cheer, for the wrestler and they're anymore. The bad fans, they're not there to buy the merchandise and help the guys out on the road and everything. They're there to look for just the spots that they fuck up in. And they're there to look for the stuff that they can bury on the internet and try to tear that show down for all the bad stuff that happened on that show. They don't want to be there to actually enjoy the show for what it is.
They're there to get themselves over, and I think the main reason for that is because they yearn to be on the other side of that guardrail or behind that curtain, and they know deep down that either physically, mentally, emotionally, they do not have what it takes to get to that level. And again, this is not every wrestling fan out there. We're talking about the bad wrestling fans, and you good wrestling fans out there probably know some of these people, but they want to be on the other side of that rail so bad, and they know that they're never going to be able to do so from a traditional standpoint. So what is their other option? Well, bury whatever we can, try to get ourselves over in any other way that we possibly can.
I don't even think it's that they know that they can't be on. They actually, because a lot of fans know that they can't be on the other side, for some reason or other, but they're still good fans. I think it's that they actually feel they deserve to be on the other side without training, without paying the dues. In fact, we know a couple that have done that actually, that are like that somehow made their way backstage, whether by bullshitting someone or whatever, and now all of a sudden they're a manager.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but I think that's the same in any area, really. And again, that comes back to the promoters in the business. You don't be so welcoming to people coming backstage, and like, I get it, people want to help out or get their foot in the door, but they gotta fucking earn it, man.
Oh yeah, it's a tough business, like I said, from any aspect, from anything you want to do.
Your dog's acting up, man. He's a fat dog. Anyways.
It's Derek Nykirk's dog, actually. My dog's the good one that's being quiet.
How can Derek Nykirk have such a fat dog since he's so fucking like jacked and in shape, but he's got this dumpy fucking dog? That's an odd couple, actually.
Hey, I think it's just like I think it says it's a bulldog. It's just it's just destined to be like that once it gets old. I mean, it's an old dog.
Yeah, that dog is shot.
he was bigger when he was younger.
Okay, so but bring it back. Okay, so let small role play situation. Not even. I'm a casual wrestling fan. I want to be as respectful as possible. I see you after a show, either at a it wouldn't be at a bar. You don't drink anymore, but either at mingling amongst the fans, which you don't really do anyways. But not too much anyways, especially in this area. If I see you and I want to approach you, what would garner your respect for me as a wrestling fan? What's the proper way to do something like that?
Just be respectful and explain how you've had. I don't even know a way to explain that. Actually, I don't have a way to explain that because
I think it's pretty. Just don't be a fucking jerk off.
Yeah, just don't be a jerk off. Just don't come up and start telling me about, oh, did you see how that guy fucked up in the match before you? Or hey, I think it'd have been better if you had done it this way. Or hey, why don't you kick out a fucking 19 million finishers in the fucking ring?
To me, I think it's like, for me, it's super easy to spot a fucking quote unquote bad fan or a good fan right off the bat. Yeah. Like I can, within the first like 10 seconds of talking to someone, I can tell, number one, if the guy's fucking just spinning his wheels and wasting my time and wants something or thinks that he deserves something or trying to get himself over, or two, is a genuine fan that respects what we do and appreciates it and just wants to chat.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I don't know. To me, you actually know this too. I don't really talk to fans anyways, even when I'm out there signing autographs, because 9 times out of 10, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a nice guy wrestler.
Well, plus you don't have any people skills.
Plus I have no people skills. So, I'll shake the hands and say thank you. But I mean, even in real life, unless I really know you, I'm not much of a talker to people I don't know. I'm talking now, and you know me, I go off on tangents all the time, but I know you. I don't really talk around people that I don't know all that well.
Right.
So it's a little bit different for me with the fans. Unless they're kids. I have no problem talking to little kid fans because kids, I think,
they're so innocent. Like there's no underlying like thing there.
Yeah, kids are kids, man. And no matter what, they're gonna boo you or they're gonna cheer you, and it's as black and white as that. And I respect that from the little bastards because they're a huge part of this business. There is adult shows, and there are the fans that want the wrestling geared towards adults. Which, don't get me wrong, I love the more R-rated style of wrestling, with the cussing and the being more violent and everything. But at the same time, there's nothing like doing a good old-fashioned indie road show at a school or on a reservation or something that's loaded with kids. You sell tons of merchandise. You go out and you have a good time, and all the kids look at you like you are Hulk Hogan or something because they might be the only live wrestling show they get to see in their area. So it's WrestleMania to them. And you could tell by looking at them and how you work in the ring that they are hooked line and sinkered the whole match, and you know what you're doing. They're going to go home and talk about for the next 6 months, and that's awesome. Doesn't mean that their big brother that's sitting in the back row that's burying that's going to go home and write a blog about you isn't going to do it, but
that's a good point. Usually they're not there. I would think. Actually, they always fucking seem to find their way to those types of shows. But I think you're right. Just as from a fan standpoint, fan aspect, just be yourself, be genuine. Realize that the wrestlers there are. I hate to use that word literally, so I won't use it. But they're out there destroying their bodies, and sometimes even more than that. From because you don't know what's going on at home and how that's affecting the home life. Like you said, they are destroying themselves for your entertainment, and for those of you that are trying to get over at their expense, and I'm at a loss for words, but
you're not helping anybody.
Exactly. You're doing more of a disservice to the wrestling business than looking cool, or so you think, because that's the bottom line is they think they're impressing someone when they're really not. Except the other two fucking jerk-offs that they're sitting next to, they're doing the same thing.
You know what I would like to see too? Now I know fans are fans and they're going to support whoever they want, but this goes back to if a real fan shows up and they see a shitty show, they're not going to put down their hard-earned money to come back to see a show again. But yet somehow there's this group of fans that are good fans. In fact, they're such loyal and good fans, they go and support shit wrestlers on shit shows. That these shows are so dangerous and so put together. They're I don't want to put anybody over, but a couple of them, or of a couple of those companies right here in Arizona that are so bad.
And I'm not trying to be a dick, but you can't really consider that a wrestling company. There's only one real one in Arizona, but there's ones like what you're talking about. They're all over.
That's what I'm saying. There's people that bought a ring and they played in their backyard for a long time and they never could cut it in training for more than a day, and they went and they started trying to be wrestlers. They bought their gear really bad at Hot Topic or something, and the fans actually show up. It's the same fans we see coming to our shows, go and support their shows and actually give these people the ability to book venues and get thrown out of that we'll never see because they ruin the venue. Because after you run a show like that, the venue will never want to book anybody else. And at the same time, you're actually enabling these guys to go and get hurt. There was a kid out here once. I don't remember what his name was. I think it was Scar or something. This kid was one of those kids that should not have been wrestling. I think it was before you started out here. And he was one of them backyard kids, and he was in that Backyard movie. And he was a nice kid, but he was deaf. He had stents in his heart. He had stents in his intestines and everything. He should not have been wrestling. And
fucking people knew this, going in?
Oh, yeah. And he went out there and he would do all that, not like the death matches that death matches is crazy enough. Not my cup of tea. You know what I mean? The hardcore matches, not my cup of tea. But these guys, he would go out there and actually do them for real, going through razor wire. And he wound up breaking his back on a shit show in Camp Verde, Arizona, which now that place will never throw another wrestling show again because of this. Kid didn't know what he was doing, went off a ladder and broke his back and had to wear a turtle
shell.
Yeah. Which, again, this is I earned I guess this is how I really started earning my reputation, or I'd already earned it, because he shows up to one of our shows, and everybody, all the guys that are actually trained, are going up and saying how bad it is that it happened to him. And I walked up, and I see him, he's like, oh, hey. And I go, oh, hey, yeah, I heard about what happened to you. That sucks, but guess what? You shouldn't have been fucking doing it anyways. And I walked off.
You're such a dick.
Dude.
No, that's valid. That's a fucking good point.
I said, I said, I'm glad you're not dead, but you know what? Maybe you should learn your fucking lesson next time.
Whereas everyone else is coddling him, giving the kid gloves, and he's like, oh, well, once I get better, maybe I'll come back. But he still has no fucking business being there in the first place.
Yes. And I get it. Some areas, this might be the only show fans could get to go see. But come on. Seriously, fans, you're smarter than that. When you show up and you see a bunch of guys that obviously they can't even tie up, or if it doesn't remotely look like what you see on TV, don't support that fucking show, please. Go to the show that actually does have the guys doing it, and promote them and put the money in them so they can afford to bring in better guys like that you see off TV, or the better guys on the indie circuit.
Yeah, it goes back to not everyone deserves to be a wrestler. Yeah, it's sorry. That's the fucking facts. Like, if everyone deserved to be, this is a perfect example. If everyone that wanted to be a wrestler was a wrestler, there would be no wrestling anymore. It would be dead.
It's almost like it's getting real close to that. The business is dying.
It's killing. Yeah, it's dying off because of that exact reason.
Like when I was on the road all those times when I first started and everything, and we were making decent money at the time. And still, you heard me say that once I got divorced, and I was all my wrestling money was going into stuff, like I was paying back credit card debt, and I was paying back, loans, and I was going to, having to find an apartment, all that stuff. I was making decent money then for an indie wrestler, and it was still hard then. So imagine what it's like now, trying to get a good booking. Then your work and your ability and the word of mouth was enough to get you booked and get you a decent payday. And the harder you worked and the more you did, it kept that going. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a good worker, and it doesn't matter a lot of the times, because half the time the promoters don't have the money to pay you what you want or what you deserve. And the ones that do, they're very few far between. So you got to really hustle to make any form of money in the business right now. There's only a couple people out there, indie-wise, that are probably making a decent living. And I'm sure even they'll agree with me on this, that they could be making better. It's a rough sport right now. The business is dying, and it needs real promoters to come back, and it needs real wrestlers to take a stand, and promoters to quit booking the shit, because again, it'll bring more fans.
It's diluting the product that's out there, and not even you say product, everyone thinks that's like WWE term, but it's not. That's an all around wrestling in general. Like, the more shit that is out there that is being passed off as legitimate professional wrestling when it's obviously not, is completely watering down the products out there that are worth a damn, and that deserve to be seen, and to deserve to have the crowds, and that deserve to be put on for the fans that actually give a shit about wrestling.
Yeah, and it also it waters down and buries the talent that is good. There's a lot of good talent out there that deserves to be seen and booked. There's a lot of good talent out there, especially in the areas we're wrestling in right now, the NorCal area specifically. There's a lot of good talent around that deserves to get out there, that deserves to get paid and flown out to places, and it's just real hard right now.
Now, there's quite a few younger wrestlers that listen to the show. Let's play, again, a little role play here, just to give them a bit of advice. I'm a promoter from a shit show that is full of dangerous guys, that is a trash show, and I say, Gallo, you going to come wrestle for me? What do you say? And again, not from it being a dickhead standpoint, but from respecting the wrestling business standpoint. What do you say to someone that wants you on a show that should not be even considered a professional wrestling show?
No.
But okay, and I get that. You obviously get that.
I would say probably like how to approach that respectfully and turn it down respectfully.
No, not even that. Like, if I'm a younger guy, I hear this fucking excuse. There's two excuses.
You mean the it's the only place I can work type. I need to get experience type thing.
Yeah, that, or I need to knock off ring rust.
That's a load of crap. I get the need you want to go wrestle and all that stuff, but you're not going to get any better wrestling these turds. You're actually going to probably wind up hurting yourself, or you're going to be in a match when someone else gets hurt, and then you're going to have that on your conscience that you couldn't protect that guy enough. You're not going to get any better working against guys that don't know what they're doing or in a dangerous situation. The only thing you could actually do is here's where paying your dues really comes in, and it's not just setting up the ring. It's traveling to shows, contacting promoters and trying to get on a show, showing up to shows just to say, hey, I'm here. I got my gear in the back. If you need anything, if you need someone to go out there and take the fall, I'll do it. And if not, can I be part of your show somehow? Do you need me to help you run tickets? Anything. Getting your foot in the door, traveling 400 miles when you're really green. This is where it's different from what guys that have been doing it a while, that are trying to make money at it and make a living, compared to when you're just trying to get your foot in the door and learn. That's when you need to eat shit, and you got to be willing to drive the 400 miles to make $25. Get no sleep and drive back home so that you can get up for work. You can get in time. You got to be at work at 6 a.m. You pull in at 5:45. You grab your lunchbox and you go. That's the time to pay dues, and that's the time. And us wrestlers, we see young kids like that trying to do it, and we'll actually pull you aside, and most of us will help you out, whether it's an asshole like me that'll shred you on doing stupid stuff. But we want to see you get better because we want to have more people to work with.
I think that's a common misunderstanding, especially from your point of view, or from your side, where people say, "Oh, Gallo's just being fucking mean. He doesn't want to put anybody over, like anyone new coming in. Like he doesn't like anyone new coming. He's too abrasive." I think it's a misconception. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Yeah, we want new guys to be able to wrestle on a regular basis, especially locally. If you're on a local show, there's only so many guys you can wrestle for so long. And in, like, for example, our area, that fucking talent pool is extremely, extremely shallow. Now there's a couple, two new guys ish around, that are popping up where it's like, okay, these guys are worth a shit, or these guys will be worth a shit to work with. But so I'm a guy who's 4 years in, and I use that term 4 years in very, very loosely. As in, I've had like fucking like
worked one show a month for like 4 years.
If that,
3 months off. Yeah, there. So you actually would have been in 1 year.
I got a couple dozen matches under my belt.
You know how many matches you've been had.
Yeah,
but you've been in 1 year.
But I've been in 4 years. I've been in 4 years.
That's the same person that you go, okay, kid, I'll take it from here, and he goes, I'm not a kid. I'm 35 years old.
Exactly.
You're a fucking kid.
But I've been in 4 years, and I don't want to fucking drive that far not knowing if I have a spot. So I'm going to go take the guaranteed spot that's 40 miles away from my house. That's a payday. Yeah, it's a shit show. The guys suck, but I'm going to get some experience and some reps in.
And you're never ever going to go anywhere, and you're still going to be working at Circle K. And you're never going to have been able to say, and let's be honest, you might not make it traveling the 400 miles, but you'll have first of all, going on the road is fun. I don't care what anybody says. It's fun. And that's why we're wrestlers. Everybody that's a wrestler has a little bit of wanderlust in them. Let's be honest. And you'll never be able to say, yeah, I might have failed, but at least I tried. You can never claim that. You can never claim that you tried to be something greater than you are. And that's one thing that sets people apart. That's one thing that sets people that have balls apart than people that, no matter what they say or did, were cowards because they didn't have the balls to get in that car and travel for a shot, for a chance. I get sometimes you can't do it because of money and everything, but you have to be able to at some point in time decide, do I want to be a professional wrestler? And a professional wrestler at some point in time or another gets paid to wrestle and travels around, or you just want to be a weekend indie wrestler and wrestle at your local promotion, which is fine. I mean, if you want to do that, there's a lot of good guys that just wrestle in their home promotion. But you're green in the business. You want to go somewhere. You need to get out, and you need to go meet some people, and you need to experience wrestling in other areas, because it's different wrestling in different areas. It's different wrestling on the West Coast compared to wrestling on the East Coast. It's different wrestling. There's a different style in NorCal versus SoCal. There's a different style in Texas versus Oklahoma. There's a different style, and you need to be able to learn them all, because you need to be able to go with anybody. And you never stop learning. So if you're going to stay in your own little area, you're never going to risk. You're never going to take that chance to get out. And
they got to remember too, like that goes noticed by like guys that show up and that aren't booked. You know, whether they jump in a car with somebody and they're just hoping that a spot opens up, and it may or may not. But I know me personally, when I'm on a show, like, and this person keeps coming, like, that doesn't go unnoticed to me. That shows drive. That shows ambition. That shows that they're willing to eat shit if they need to in order to get just a spot, whether it's a ref spot, whether it's, you know, fucking setting up chairs, whatever. And again, that's not paying dues. To an extent, it is. But I think you made a really good point earlier where people just assume like fucking setting up a ring and setting up, you know, rows and rows of chairs is paying dues. And there's a lot more that goes into it for sure. But we're over an hour.
Oh, wow.
Pretty crazy, right?
I never even got to talk about, you know, the bump card, what that is and everything.
The bump card? No, man. You're exposing the business, and I can't have that on my show. But hey, like I said, this is my show. We can go over it. This is a bonus episode. You're the guest co-host. You got anything? We're at an hour, about 5 minutes right now. You got anything that you wanna spit about? And I don't care what it is. If it's something political, I'll fucking shut up, because I'm not gonna argue with you unless it's something I don't agree with, and I'll just shut the fucking mic off.
Nobody wants to hear my political rants about how the world is too PC today and everybody's got to try to fucking, you know, oh, you got to be nice to this person. Actually, wrestling world and the real world right now is probably about the same. You know, everybody wants to be a winner even when they lose, and you got to try to give somebody a trophy instead of being like, hey, take it like a fucking man and lose.
You know? Yeah. The whole you get a trophy and you get a trophy and you get a trophy.
Fucking shit.
Yeah, that's not. If that's the mentality in wrestling, then I fucking quit.
That is the mentality in wrestling. No, seriously, think about it. That is the mentality now. Everybody's like, oh, you can't be so brutal these days. Case in point, Bill DeMott. It's a different business now. It's a different time. Yeah, it is a different time. The time is we have a bunch of fucking pussies trying to be fucking men and real women now. You're like, oh, you can't be mean to me because I'll go write an internet thing and I'll call HR. The fuck HR in wrestling? Shut the fuck up.
And I get that, you know, in that case they work for a corporation, but that right there shows me that that's not a professional wrestler. That's someone that's trying to make their name in some other field at the expense of professional wrestling.
It's the same thing though. Like I'm sure it's in all sports now too, where you got the guys that really love it and let's be honest, hazing and joking around and everything else, you know, is part of every sport. And then you got the guys that just can't handle it and they'll complain to get moved ahead. You know, that's probably like that in every business, not even just every sport. That's like that in every business, you know, and it's just pathetic. People need to just quit, take off their little girly panties and fucking grow the fuck up.
Speaking of bitches, what do you think of Tough Enough?
I haven't watched it. Honestly,
no, neither have I.
I heard you talking about it on your last episode. Actually, not that I want to put you over. Like I actually listen to your show, but
every single week he listens to it religiously.
I need to have something that annoys me greater than the treadmill I'm on when I'm working out.
What better than me?
Yeah. So I actually haven't watched the Tough Enough. I actually haven't watched really any Tough Enough since like the first one or two. I think the last one I watched was the one with Kenny King and The Miz on it. That's the last one I think I watched.
Well, I don't know what the fuck's going on the show. I don't care. But the philosophy, I get that it's entertainment. Like that's what the show is there for. It's the entertainment piece of WWE, and they're going to do a great job entertaining. They do all these. Sometimes there's like pictures on like Twitter and stuff, and it shows they do like fucking like stunts. I think like swimming in mud. I could be wrong, but like it's dumb shit like that, you know. But But from the wrestling standpoint, are any of these guys going to fucking last like the long haul in the business? Or I think they're all there just to fucking make a name for themselves to become a movie star or some bullshit like that.
Let's be honest. I think the ones that even in the earlier Tough Enoughs that made it were wrestlers before. The Miz started training at UPW when I was there.
Was he on Tough Enough after UPW?
Yeah, he was on Tough Enough after. I think Kenny King, I'm not too sure, but I'm pretty sure Kenny King and Josh Matthews were trained before Tough Enough. And I remember in the earlier Tough Enoughs, which I couldn't even watch them really, to tell you the truth, they were all already trained. It was a casting call for workers to come on, wrestlers to come on, and then they supposedly got trained on the show. And then I think Maven might not have been trained. I'm not sure though, but
it was a lot different back then. They were actually looking like, I think the cast, the guys that were applying for the show actually wanted to be wrestlers because they're like I mentioned, there wasn't those crossover stars yet where people saw it as a launching pad to something else.
Right, but they were still dumb. Like I remember all of us that were trying to make something of it were like, because they'd be taken. Oh, you've been training hard for the last 2 weeks. We're going to take you to Hawaii, and it was more like Real World, and they would have them like go get drunk outside or whatever, and then they'd film everything that happened. It's like, yeah, I never got fucking taken to Hawaii when I was training. What the fuck is this?
Could you imagine that?
You've been training too hard. You did good this 2 weeks. We're gonna take you to Hawaii.
You perfected the front row.
You're staying in this great fucking house put together by MTV or whatever. What? Should go fuck yourself. I got told, oh great, you hurt your head? Yeah, next time tuck your chin. By the way, get up. We gotta tear this fucking ring down. Drive fucking 3.5 hours. Set it up again.
You gotta go sleep in the bathtub.
Yeah, you gotta go sleep in the bathtub. And then, by the way, you're driving home on the way.
And you're paying for gas.
And then as soon as we get back, you got to set the fucking ring up again, go home, work. When you get done with work, make sure you're here at 6 o'clock or you're going to have to do 50 Hindu squats for every fucking minute you're late.
And maybe we'll go to Hawaii.
Yeah, but don't worry, there's a Hawaii trip at the end of it. Shut the fuck up. So I don't see how, like, and I get it, like you said, it's the entertainment now, and it's the age of reality TV. People want to see these stupid fucking stunts being done. And hey, I'm gonna let y'all in on a secret real quick. Hey, reality TV is bullshit. It's all set up. It's a bigger work than wrestling. I just want y'all to know that. It's kind of like boxing and UFC. Weird. Just a lot of it's set up. It's strange.
Boxing and UFC are fixed? No, come on.
Anything shit that has money involved in it isn't fixed. What the fuck ever.
Yeah, I knew MMA was fixed once fucking Ken Shamrock lost that last match. Because Ken Shamrock is a multi-time WWE Intercontinental Champion, world's most dangerous man. He probably lost because he didn't say "get out of my way," but anyway, or scream "get out of my way." You remember? Yeah, that was a rap for anybody.
Yeah, hey, I saw fucking Ken Shamrock take a chair to the fucking head, and later on the next week come out and whoop Rocky Johnson's ass. Okay, and if you could beat up the Rock, there's no way Kimbo Slice can kick your ass. That's all I gotta say.
It all comes back to movie stars, man. That's what it's all about.
But no, like. I get it's the reality TV and everything like that, but you know what? I don't see. That's not entertaining me. I hate reality TV, but I don't want to see guys that are trained to wrestling. You don't watch. I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen a couple of shows. I'm not so sure, but I think when you watch the UFC version of Tough Enough, what's that called? The Ultimate Fighter?
I think so. Yeah.
You don't see them going out and doing fucking real world tricks and fucking and challenges and swimming in mud. Usually, do you? I don't think you do.
I'm not sure. I've never seen the show. I know what it's called. I've never seen it.
I'm pretty sure it's just them training and working out in the gym and then like shows like their interactions with each other in a competitive style in the house. Whatever happened to shit like that? Like if I'm watching a show called Tough Enough about training to be a wrestler, I want to see the actual shit you go through to make it to maybe your first match, or what it's like, to leading up to you going out and wrestling in your first, because I'm sorry. That's going to be a nerve-wracking experience. If you've never actually done it before, I want to see a guy get built from the ground up and then go out to wrestle in a WWE ring and walk out and just be trained in the ring and go through all those rigors, and whoever gets picked finally is the one that walks out and sees those lights. And I want to see the camera on his face the first time he walks out and actually sees 25 or 30 or 40,000 people staring at him with the lights and the ring right there. Because I tell you what, that'll be a good fucking episode. When he's never done it before and he walks out there to have his first match and shits his pants when he realizes there's 50,000 people staring at me right now.
You should produce that show.
That'd be a good show, right?
Better than the dancing in the mud, or what the fuck did I see? Oh, Chris Jericho tweeted out a fucking picture. I think it was earlier today, or they're doing like fucking improv comedy at like some stand up place, and I get how you can relate that to wrestling, but how come we didn't go to improv fucking class in wrestling school?
We did. It was called, "Hey, we're in the car. Start cutting promos. I'm gonna tell you how bad they are." Nah, you're 10 seconds and you suck. Think of something else.
You're so mean. You are no wonder.
Like, you want to know what I want to see? I want to see him do like what I had to do. I want to see him have to do fucking 200 Hindu squats, then stand up on the top rope and have Knox hit the friggin' ropes with his 300-pound body and try to knock you off while you're standing in the turnbuckle doing squats in the corner. And I guess he learned that from Bill DeMott. So, hey, guess what? He's a bully, too, because Bill DeMott taught him that shit. But I want to see that. I want to see the four people up there like on a tightrope trying not to fall and bust their ass on the ground.
You can't, because you don't want anyone to get hurt and leave it. You know,
they might write a fucking letter.
Oh, yeah, don't write a letter.
This guy proved that I'm not an athlete and I can't do this. Sorry.
Wasn't there a story about that where the guy got all fucking butthurt because he was like leaning on the ring and Bill fucking kicked the rope into his face?
Yeah.
But my question is, what the fuck's your face doing so close to the bottom rope? Shouldn't you be fucking standing a little bit further away from the ring? But Bill's the bad guy. Now you learn your lesson.
That's the same guy that he'd be circling in the ring and he'd get too close to the turnbuckle and in like a tag match, and the guy would reach over and slap him in the fucking back. Like, or grab his foot and watch him eat shit face first in the mat. Be like, oh, I guess you need to watch your surroundings, huh?
I agree. But like we said, the wrestling business has changed a little bit. I feel like this was just a bitch session from you and me.
Well, I could tell you a story that happened, actually, so it's not just a big session.
What happened?
I was wrestling in Florida, and it was me and my tag partner. It was Nav, my trainer, and we were wrestling against the Blackhearts. Well, one of the Blackhearts from WCW. And
Dave. Okay.
Dave. And we were wrestling Dave, and we were wrestling Crusher Thompson, Sheik's trainer, the guy who trained Sheik, Casey Thompson. And I was circling with Casey in the ring for FCW in the middle of the swamps. I was circling, and I got too close. I'm still green. This is probably my first year and a half in, and I got too close to Dave in the turnbuckle, and he reaches over from outside and chops me so hard in the middle of the fucking back that I swear to you, I think I almost shit my pants. It hurt so bad, and I looked back at him in shock, and he looked at me and just goes, "Don't get too close to my corner, kid." Now, if I had known, you could have written a letter to the higher-ups, right?
You didn't know? There's an email address. It goes directly to Human Resources.
If I had that email address to Bill Brown's HR department at FCW, oh, Davey, you'd have been in deep trouble. You'd have been fired from an independent company.
If that got out, maybe there would have been a couple more people that would have wrote some more letters.
Yeah, look at this now. We're going to see this on a dirt sheet somewhere. Oh, Blackheart David beats up on young boys 10 years ago.
Nah, man, no one's listening to this. We're over an hour and everyone tuned out by now.
They're like, this is just a giant bitch section.
Actually, you know what I wanted to ask you, this is a touchy subject, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about it, and I think we agree on it. Men wrestling women, especially on the indies, it's become like the new thing. I think there's a lot of very talented female wrestlers out there, especially on the indies, that have a lot of potential to do a lot of good things in wrestling. But I don't think it does anyone any favors for guys and girls to wrestle each other, and not from like a sexist standpoint. And from my perspective, if I see a guy and a girl, quote unquote, wrestling on TV, and that guy just doesn't beat the shit out of her, that guy's a huge pussy to me. Unless it's like someone like fucking Kong or China or Ronda Rousey. Then it's believable. But for the most part, I can't get behind girl versus guy, especially on indies. It's too unbelievable, and I feel like it even exposes the business more. What do you think?
I am 100% in agreement. I can't stand intergender matches. And that goes back to also when I was trained. When I first was trained, first of all, you couldn't really do that and lay your hands on a woman, because when I was coming up, you might have the crowd actually riot on you and come over the fucking railing, because how dare a man lay his hands on the woman? You know, that was back in the day when there was, like, respect. You know what I mean? Like, a guy hitting a girl would actually cause fucking men in the crowd to start fucking probably trying to come kick your ass for being a fucking douchebag and laying your hands on a girl.
And this is before the Attitude Era, because when the Attitude Era started, especially on TV, there was a lot of, girls were taking bumps and shit like that.
But if you remember correctly, even in the Attitude Era, no girl was ever really punched in the face. Name one girl that was punched by a wrestler. They might have been thrown down, and they might have been grabbed and chucked, but name one where a guy actually punched a girl. You couldn't do it because the fucking networks would get on your ass for promoting domestic violence.
Right, and I think I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know, like, girls have taken finishes and moves and things like that, but that's different. I get it.
But like nowadays, like, you're seeing these intergender matches, and guys are actually full on punching a girl in the head, and she's coming back at him.
The guy's the biggest pussy in the world. Am I out of line for saying that?
No. I mean, like, no offense to women. I know there's some tough women out there. I watched Kong knock a dude out in the middle of a bar once. All right? Awesome Kong is probably the toughest woman I have ever met in my life.
Right. That makes sense, though, because she looks, and she legitimately could fuck a guy up.
Yeah. She's 260 pounds.
Right. But fucking...
She's a big woman. And I've grown up with tough women, biker women and everything. And I've seen them lay an ass whooping down. And I've also seen that guy get tired of the girl hitting him and fucking stand up and knock her one in the fucking head. And I don't care how tough that girl is, she went down. You know, there's a big difference. I'm a 290-pound man. If I have to wrestle a girl, let's be fucking honest. If I lay my hands on her, I feel it does not help the business if I take an ass whooping from her, unless she's obviously the size of Kong. Like,
how is that believable at that point?
It's not believable. Like, I'm not going to, like, I know there's a lot of girls, if I see a 110-pound girl supposedly supposed to wrestle me, there is no believable way that can happen unless she is too fast for me to lay my hands on her. And even then, I'm not selling her shit.
Right, because, I mean, you have...
I'll let her fucking punch me in the face as hard as she can. And I guarantee, unless she hits me square in the middle of the nose or right in the fucking ball sack, there isn't going to be much that I'm going to be selling on that. And even then, I don't know if I'm going to be doing it, because you've seen me get hit like that before. And I don't sell it from a fucking full-grown man in a bar.
Right.
So...
I think it does come back to a point where you have to protect yourself character-wise. But for me, someone like me, I'm obviously a lot smaller than you. I'm not going to get in the ring with a female. Like,
still, most women in the business are still 120 pounds. You're 220. It still is not believable for them to wrestle you unless, like you said, they're a martial artist like fucking Ronda Rousey. And, I still don't even know if she took a fucking full-on shot to the face from a man, if she would be able to get up. She might be able to stretch him with a jiu-jitsu, but you know what I mean? That's a whole other ballpark. And
I look at it, whenever I see it, it's like a switch goes off in my head, and I see it from a reality standpoint, and I don't even think about the work aspect. I automatically think, I'm like, wow, this guy is a huge pussy. He's getting his fucking ass handed, or there's a chick that's like fucking way smaller than him giving him a fight. If I see this guy out in public and he's like picking a fight with me, I would just assume I'll fucking destroy the guy, because, and again, I try not to sound sexist and like, oh, girls aren't as strong as guys. That's not what I'm saying. But let's be realistic here. A fucking 120-pound female punching a full-grown adult male, like you said, Gal, unless it's fucking dead on square on the button, is not gonna really do anything to a man. No. Whereas a fucking man who's 200 pounds, if he fucking hauls off and clocks a female anywhere in the facial head region, is gonna fucking drop her to the ground. And when I see it in wrestling and they're exchanging blows, I don't buy it. It's hokey to me, and at that point, it's a joke, and it's embarrassing to watch.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. And here's my thing: is if there's a girl there are women out there that are obviously wrestling men, and they're having, I guess, good matches. If you look at it, not from the male.
Take gender out of it.
Good matches. how come most women divisions suck so bad then? If you got women like that that can do that with a guy, you know, like I don't like mixed gender matches or whatever, but what's the girl that wrestled that got kicked in the face by the Young Bucks?
Candice LeRae.
Candice LeRae. She looks like she can go. Take gender out of it, right? How come we can't have more girls like that wrestling other girls and having phenomenal matches? I know Shimmer has them, and I know but like you never see matches. You never see really really good matches on the indies where women wrestle women usually.
And Shimmer does really well, and then like you said, look at NXT. All those fucking girls can wrestle their ass off, and they're wrestling each other, and it's getting over. They don't need to wrestle guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Build a good women's division. Like that's like a forgotten thing anymore. Like you have the occasional women's match, and it might be decent or it might be really good, but you never have a women's division in wrestling anymore, unless it's on WWE or TNA or something like that. You need like indies need quit having the girls wrestle. You're missing out on a huge selling point. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, people want to see it. Yeah, you know what people want to see? They want to see really good women wrestling. The Knockouts division was the #1 selling thing in TNA for a long time. Women or guys, people in general want to see really good women wrestling. The reason why women wrestling doesn't sell now is because usually it sucks. And if you have some, that's why Shimmer does well. That's why some of these other ones do well. That's why what's the one in Japan that is going on? Shine right now? Is that what it's called? Some Sparkle, something like that. Whatever. That one's doing real well. Promoters book a real women's division with have a women's title. Book real women's matches. That was a huge drawback in the day too. You'd have a full card if you had a women's match and a tag match and some mid matches, and then you'd have also like your intergender match. And that's another thing. If the women are wrestling the guys, how can you tell what's the buildup? Remember back in the day, intergender matches, the guys, the good guys would never wrestle the woman. He would tag the other female in to wrestle her. And then you'd have the heel, the bad guy, come in, and he wouldn't care. And he would corner that girl, and he would try to get her, and the crowd would go friggin' nuts. And the girl would get away. He might grab her by the hair, and something might happen before he can punch her, or him and the girl would do something to her, but she would eventually get away and tag in the baby face, and that guy would come in and start bumping that dude left and right, left and right. There's a huge selling. You take away that dynamic, and I get it, and we're in the age where everybody's equal and all this stupid shit. It's just not a good seller to me.
And you're always going to have that underlying overtone where if a guy's wrestling a girl, it's gonna and the girl goes under. Oh yeah, she wrestled a guy. Yeah. But if it's two girls fucking whipping the shit out of each other and having a good match, she lost, but man, she put up a hell of a fight. You kind of, as a female, if you're wrestling a male and you go under, you lose a little bit of steam. You kind of bury yourself a little bit, I would think. Whereas if you lose the exact same match to another female competitor, it doesn't hurt you as much.
Well, and think about it from the other end of the coin. The girl beats the man. Now that guy's got to go on and try to say that he's a viable contender for the heavyweight championship or something later on. No one's going to buy it. I just saw you got pinned by a 110-pound woman. Like, she's a badass. You're a pussy. That's what it boils down to. I don't care what anybody says. That is what the common average fan's mindset is thinking. You know, you're a man. You just punched her full on in the head, and she got back up. So she's either really, really tough, or you hit like a girl. She obviously hits like a man.
And you got to remember the ones that really are love the female versus male thing are those smart marks, if you want to call them, that are going to fucking come to the shows regardless and, you know, boo, cheer, start their chants, whatever. The casual fan sees that and it's hokey at that point.
And again, this boils down to what we were saying before. This is actually a whole other side of the coin we were saying before. You know, I get it. It's like with men, they always want to be stone cold, and the women doesn't want to appear to be weak. I can wrestle the men. I get it. In training, everything you wrestle the guys, and you know what? We want you to wrestle the guys in training because that makes it when you wrestle on the show, you hit like a man, you move like a man, which is good in the sense of when two girls wrestle each other. You don't want to see girls afraid to touch. You know, like Victoria, when she was training at UPW, she trained like a man. She wanted to get hit by the guys, so she wouldn't pull back, and that's why she wrestled so well. You know, Tara, as she was in WWE and TNA and everything later on. But you're missing out on a huge thing when you're a female. this is the same as the males. If you can't sell yourself, you're not going to make as much money. And the point of being professional wrestling is to make money. So if you're out there going toe-to-toe with the guy, yeah, you might get some pops, you might sell some pictures, but you ain't going to sell nothing like if you're running away from this big bad guy because he's trying to abuse a woman and your mixed tag partner gets in there and lights him up. Now you guys are going to go out and sell way more merchandise. I don't care what anybody says.
Sympathy sells.
Sympathy sells. And at the same as anything, you're here to sell yourself to the crowd. And again, it's like the tweener mindset. Oh, I'm a tweener. I have to be able, my character means I can't sell for you. I have to keep fighting toe to toe to toe. Okay, guess what? Yeah, Stone Cold is an exception. He made a lot of fucking money, and he did something completely against the grain in wrestling, which worked for him. Hey, guess what? Shawn Michaels made millions of dollars off of selling and getting his ass handed to him and then pulling out the victory in the end. It doesn't matter what it is. That's what you make your money in. Like you said, sympathy sells. Being a babyface sells. Being a woman and wrestling other women sells. Being a woman and wrestling men sells to maybe 100 people, that 1%, that smart mark crowd, like you're saying. The average fan in the mixed town, you very well might start a riot if you go to some of those redneck towns that I used to wrestle in or some of the res towns, because some drunk guy in the crowd might see that and be like, don't you lay your hands on a woman. He might really come over the ring and come at you.
Well, like Ricky Morton once told me, give me some room, brother, because I'm going to sell. And then he didn't sell.
And then he didn't sell.
The one fucking time ever that Ricky Morton doesn't sell, of course, it's in a match that I'm in. But anyways, all right, we're at an hour and a half, give or take. So let's call it here. Gallo, it was pretty fun. I think maybe hopefully people will look at you in a different light if they thought you were that big, mean, dirty bastard that everyone says you were in the first place.
What are you talking about? This thing just painted me in the light of being that big, mean, dirty bastard that you said.
That's true. So I got a chance to show everyone the real you, which is good. Usually I do the follow of the week, but in place of the follow of the week, since I did that the last episode this week, Gallo, you want to just plug all your stuff where people can find you?
Oh, hell. Yeah, I guess where are we at next?
I was just going to say, like, your Twitter and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that too. Okay, my Twitter is I don't even think about that social media stuff.
You're not going to draw, man.
I'm not going to draw. I'm not going to sell myself, brother. At GQ Gallo is my Twitter, and my I guess I got Instagram. It's at King of No Rules. And then I also got my Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/King of No Rules. And that's my fan page. And if you want to catch Gallo in action, he will be with alongside me. We're in tag team action on July 26th in Modesto, California for Pro Wrestling Bushido The Warrior's Way. And then after that, we'll be tagging again on August 8th for 3PW in Las Vegas, Nevada. Those are our next 2 dates coming up. And I'll keep you posted on those as the weeks go by on the show. You should follow our tag team Twitter too, or at KOTF XXX. You know, all the porn girls have the XXX at the end of their names. I was told. I don't know that, but yeah, that's why I did it. Good. That way we don't get mixed up. All right, so that's going to do it for the most part for today. Any questions or feedback that you want me to pass along to Gallo if you can't get a hold of him on his social networks, just go ahead and send an email to mail@nothingtoprovepodcast.com. Also, make sure you're following us on Twitter at NTP Podcast, myself at Dom EL Bomb. You can also catch the podcast on Facebook. Just go ahead and search Nothing to Prove Podcast, and make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube, and anywhere and everywhere else. That's going to do it for now. I'll see you guys this coming Monday for another episode of the Nothing to Prove Podcast. This is the Keepers of the Faith saying, peace out.